What's good, people? Sam O'Reilly from Fight Talk. I'm joined obviously by James from Round 8 for our Fight Talk podcast, and today we're delighted to be joined by Craig Spider Richards. How are you, Craig?
I'm good, thank you. I'm very good.
Good.
Hello, Craig. How you, mate? All right.
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm very well, thank you. Right, we want to sort of go back to the beginning and really find out how you got into boxing. Now, I mean, what sort of club did you start in when you was an amateur?
Well, I started as an amateur in just a local little small club around my area. I was there for about a year and a bit just training, but nothing too serious. Then I just kind of drifted back out of it for a little while, and then my cousin gave me a call, asked me to come up for some sparring and to come train up at the Lynn ABC up in Peckham, Camberwell. So I was up there for a while, training, and it was really the coach what kept me motivated. He kept telling me how good I was and I was going to be a champion and all this and that. So I kind of like fed into it a little bit. I was thinking, why does this guy believe in me so much? But yeah, he just kept me motivated, and then he ended up leaving the Lynn after being a head coach for about 15 years and opened his own academy. And when he done that, I'd left with him. And I didn't actually plan to stick to boxing full time. I'm just really passionate as a hobby. But I planned to go to university, but that never happened at the time. So I carried on boxing and obviously started winning things, winning little championships, getting in the papers, fighter of the night each time I fought. And everyone's telling me how talented I was and I should stick to it. So before you know it, ended up, getting signed and turning professional.
Yeah, cool. Did you have a lot of amateur fights?
No, I had 22 amateur fights.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think mostly in championships. Done the national novices. I've done the box cup, and then went elite about 12 fights in. Then I had my last 10 fights. Boxing basically all the best fighters I could think of in the country and out of the country as well. So, yeah.
I mean, you're managed now by Peter Sims,
Yeah, that's
well-known trainer. I understand he picked you up at the ABA's first time you met him. He came and watched you, spoke to yourself and your family after speaking to Ahara Davis, I believe.
Yeah.
He said Ahara had said, I think you're good friends with Ahara, and he told him that, my mate wants to turn professional, do you want to go down and watch him? And, the rest is history. He's gone down and watched at the ABA's, and, what happened there when you met Peter? How did that come about, and how did that progress?
We had a chat. He rang me up on the Monday. I came down the gym. We spoke and etc. He told me what he thought about me and everything, and he was going to come to my next fight, which happened to be on the ABA's. Come and watch me fighting, and that got that decision that he felt. I felt what everyone kind of thought at the time. We never panicked too much, but he was like, "Yeah, you got great talent, and I'd like to sign you to turn professional." And I was like, "Oh, great!" So signed, and then he took me out for camp to get me ready for my debut in Marbella. We went over to the MGM and trained out there and got me ready for my debut.
How does that feel? Does it sort of snowball? You got, like you say, you weren't necessarily planning on a career in boxing, and then all of a sudden you spoke to someone else, and it's like, yeah, look, listen, you can go pro. And did you sort of stop and think, is this something that I'm realistically going to be, I'm good enough to do, and that I want to do full time, or did it just sort of get on top of your snowball and then you fell into it, and then now you love it?
Well, no, I've always loved it. I was always really passionate about it, but I just, when you're so passionate and you love doing something so much, you don't think you're going to be one day a paid rank and getting paid to do something as your full-time job or something you love. It was only about 2 years before I thought, yeah, I'm good enough to go pro. And about a year before that, I was contemplating, when's the right time to go pro? A lot of people were telling me, you're good enough to go pro now, why don't you turn over? And it was a year before that, I kind of had a talk about Ahara Davis before that about turning pro. He was like, because he mentioned it to me as well about turning professional. And I said to him, how do you know when you're ready to turn pro? He said, well, when you know, you'll know. And it was kind of a year later when I spoke to him, when I was ready and I knew, yeah, I'm ready now. It's kind of like it all happens from there.
Timing, isn't it? It's all timing.
Everything's timing. So yeah, and that's what happened.
Of course. Now, bringing you're 4-0 now. Your career is moving in the direct. You're fighting on possibly the biggest show that we've seen for a long time, the Gennady Golovkin Brook show. I mean,
Yeah.
does it feel like, you know, in your fifth fight, things are happening quick? You know, is that? Do you let it? Do you sit back and think about it, or do you just keep your head down, keep training, and keep winning?
To be fair, I just keep my head down, keep working, and keep winning. At the same time, I won't pretend that, like I'm not happy to be at the stages I am and being on the big stages, these big matchroom shows. I don't feel like, especially like my last fight, my fourth fight, to be on Sky Sports. That was a big thing for me. I thought like I was happy about that, especially to get a performance out on it. And then to have your next fight on the biggest card we've had in years, the pound for pound best in the world, coming over to the UK to box in the O2 Arena to be on that undercard. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not like, like it's just another thing. I was happy to be on that card, and I really appreciate even Eddie putting me on that card, because it's a big thing, and obviously there's limited spaces, limited fighters. Every fighter wants to get on it, so when you've been chosen to be on them shows, you can only be appreciative.
Yeah, of course. It's one of those things, you know. It's like I spoke to a couple of guys, and you know they've done the rounds and had sort of 10, 15 fights on small hall shows, and they build up to get here. I mean, like you say, you're lucky to get on these big shows. But what I've seen of you, to be honest, Craig, I was there ringside when you the last fight, when it was just yourself and O'Hara fought on the open workouts on the Brazil AJ fight. And you know, you can see the talent, and the people stop and watch the fight, and you're one of those fighters that sort of grabs people's attention.
Thanks.
Nice. I mean, what's your ideal weight? What I've seen you fought, you know, a little bit different weights in that. Where are you most comfortable?
Super middleweight is my weight. Super middleweight is where I'm comfortable fighting at all times. But it's just like it was a stage where we needed to step up last fight in an opponent, and at the time, although the opponent was a light heavyweight, he seemed like a good opponent to step up, especially stepping up with a heavier guy. It just seemed like right for the show. So although he was a light heavyweight on the last show, I was still a super middleweight. So I was still weighing, I think, 12.5. He weighed in at 13 stone for the last one. The two fights before was meant to be at my championship weight at 12 stone. I dropped under the limit of my last two. Wow, I slid into the middleweight at 11.13 and 11.12. But they were set to be at 12 stone. And the one before that was set at 12.3, which I came in at 12.3, which my opponent came in heavy then as well. So, yes, super middleweight is my perfect weight.
Cool.
Now, I mean, all throughout your career so far, I mean, you've had some great sparring. I know you sparred John Ryder down here. I know you went to America, you sparred Gabriel Rosado. I mean, what was that like going out there? I mean, that was fairly early. I think it was your first or second fight, that was it?
Yeah, well, I sparred Gabriel Rosado a while back. So I've been, like, in my career, I've obviously taken breaks out to, like, not taken breaks out, but I've been abroad, different places. Obviously, during my career, I've been out to look at the boxing out in Vegas, etc. Fighters have come over here and sparred, like, and obviously, as I was saying, I've sparred Gabriel Rosado, and sparring fighters like him, who's quite experienced, and you holding your own against fighters like that, you know that they're the sort of things what are reassuring for your confidence moving into your career, especially early in your stages when someone's so seasoned. So yeah, it was a great experience to spar these sort of people. A lot of the people I've sparred during all my camps are a lot more experienced and seasoned pros, but a lot of people would say you'd never know the difference between us.
Yeah, that's something I was going to touch on. Obviously, sparring these great guys, but obviously you need the fights as well. And I see you're staying active. I mean, you've got two fights this month alone, haven't you? You're fighting obviously on Brook Golovkin, and then later in the month you're back at York Hall, aren't you?
Yeah, that's correct.
So is that the plan now for the rest of the year? Just sort of stay active, get as many under your belt as you can.
Yeah, I felt like in the last year, although I've had 4 fights in the year, I just felt like I wanted to be a lot more active. So now I'm getting exactly what I want. I've got 2 fights coming up, close, quite back to back, and then hopefully after these 2 fights, we'll be challenging for a domestic title or something like that. So we just got to stay focused, keep working hard. I'm always in the gym all the time anyway. Even after my fights, few days out, I just want to be back in the gym. So the training preparation is not a problem. It's just getting the fight dates, and now I'm getting them. Everything seems like it's pulled together, really.
Yeah.
You touched on there, obviously, you know, you're always eager to train and you want to get back in the gym all the time. I mean, I spoke to your trainer, Peter Simsley, a while ago, and I asked him a tough question of who does he think's got the most potential in his gym, and he sort of laughed off and he gave me a bit of a. He was like, oh, you know, Craig Richards and Lucian Reid and Ben Hall. You in there with his top three sort of prospects. I mean, I know obviously Lucian and Ben have both got their English title shots coming up. I mean, you say they're domestic title for yourself. I mean, is that the aim? Sort of look for the English, look for things like maybe a Southern area, something like that coming up in the near future.
That's exactly what we're looking for. Hopefully by the end of this year, get a title, and then looking to move up and get a bigger title, and just going to keep working our way up until obviously, of course, we can get to the world title. But we're just taking one step at a time. First the domestic, then the British, and etc. So yeah, that's the focus. We're not here just to make up numbers. We're here to win stuff and win titles and move up and make something of ourselves in the game. So yeah, that's the aim.
I love the ambition. I love that. It's, like you said, no disrespect to journeyman out there. The game needs the journeyman, but for guys like yourself in the gyms like you're in, you want the aim's got to be to win things, and I like the ambition. Coming up, who were your idols? Who did you look up to? Who did you either fight style wise or just a guy that you looked up to and thought, yeah, he's my kind of boxer?
There's a few guys that I grew up watching, but not all of the fighters that I grew up watching and was my favourites is styles that I emulated. So, for instance, we all grew up watching like the Lennox Lewis, the Mike Tysons, the Prince Naseems, the Vander Holyfields, etc. But when I started boxing, I never tried to emulate them sort of people, because one thing you got to understand is one thing like your body structure, your height, your abilities and flexibilities and stuff like that. So you can't, there's no point in me being a tall guy, 6'3" or whatever, plus, and trying to emulate Tyson. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So a lot of fighters I grew up watching who I would take bits off is fighters like Floyd Mayweather. Is a fighter. I like his defensive style and also his offensive style. I think he don't get enough credit for his offensive style of like just working different varieties of combinations and being smart. He's got a high level of IQ, the same as Roy Jones Jr. They've got like a high level of IQ and they're quite very sharp and they've got good timing. I think people underestimate timing in the game of boxing. So fighters like Floyd, fighters like Roy Jones Jr. I've had a lot of people tell me I box like Thomas Hearns. I never actually studied him to fight like Thomas Hearns, but obviously when people get saying that, I went off to start watching him more to see what they're talking about, to see you know what I mean. And but fighters like even like Felix Trinidad, I like watching. I think he's a great fighter. Another fighter that he don't get enough credit. There's a few fighters. Yeah.
That's good, man. Now, obviously, we've got to talk about the fight card you're on. First off, how's it going to work? Obviously, you're going to be fighting earlier in the show. Are you going to be able to sit and enjoy the fights afterwards, or are you going to be on the way home, or what are you going to do?
No, I'll sit and enjoy the fights afterwards. Obviously, I'll get to there. All my focus on is my fight and my show. Once that's finished, then I can then relax and then go off and go thank all my supporters who come out to come and support me, etc. Because it's a big thing for them. Everyone keep paying their money to come and see you fight, and then I can go and sit and relax and go watch the main cards and enjoy the rest of the show.
You got any thoughts on the big one, Brook Golovkin? Everyone I've spoken to seems to have a different version and a different opinion.
I always say it would be lovely for Brook to go out there and go and scrape the win against Golovkin on points. It's something that we all want. We're all behind him. The whole British public's behind him. That'd be great, but it's a big task. It's a massive task and a massive ask for him to come up 2 weights to fight the very best pound for pound in the world right now. Well, on paper, not in my opinion, but on paper, the best pound for pound. And he's a tough guy at middleweight. He's very tough. And he can take a punch and he's going to walk you down. He's going to try and grind you down. So if he can get to the 12, he could nip it on points. If not, it could be a midway 6-7 Triple G. So depends on who turns up that night.
Yeah. I mean, James and I spoke to Dave Allen on our first fight on the first podcast, and obviously he's in and around the gym, so he's a little bit biased. But a lot of people are saying how good Kel's looking, and he's used to sparring big men. So it won't be as such a problem as we're making out. Obviously, it's a different beast when he's in there on a professional fight, though, isn't it? Against someone like Golovkin. It's one of them interesting fights to see what you didn't ever think you'd see. You know what I mean? You don't nowadays. People don't tend to take them jumps.
It is a different ball game. Do you know what it is? If I feel like if Chael was stepping up to fight another middleweight, it wouldn't be such a massive factor. It's just that we're now putting him against the very best middleweight with a very good chin and very extraordinary punching power, and that's what makes it a big task for Chael. But we've seen in the past fighters shock everyone. We've seen it happen with Ali, Sonny Liston, and a lot of big fights that people rip fighters off for, and they've come through and shocked the world. So in boxing, you can never write off anyone, really.
That's it. I mean, not only that, obviously, it is a massive card. You know, not only is it Golovkin and Brook, but there's 2 other world titles on the night. You know, you've got Charlie Edwards fighting Casemiro. You've got Stewie Hall versus Lee Haskins. There's also a British title fight on the line as well on the night. It's a massive, massive card overall. I mean, in regards to the other world title fights there, like I say, Stewie Hall, Lee Haskins, what's your thoughts on that fight? How do you see that going, Craig?
To be fair, with Stuart Hall and Haskins, I've not watched a major amount of them to be fair, to give a proper opinion. Edwards, I know, is a good fighter. I feel like he could pull it off and get his first world title. Just his ninth professional fight, he's a good fighter. He could pull that off. But with Martin, I believe Martin will win the British title. I strongly believe Martin. I've seen Martin in the gym. I've seen him sparring. I've seen him training. He trains really hard. He looks tremendous in sparring. He's strong. He's mentally strong and physically strong, and he's got good skills. So I believe Martin can definitely bring the British title back with him. I think Edwards can win the IBF, and I know it's a grudge match between Hall and Haskins, but I haven't really watched a great deal of them to really put my opinion on that fight.
Yeah, it's definitely a good card, and they've obviously thrown the Smith brothers, Callum and Paul, are both on the card as well. So yeah, it's going to be a really, really good fight card, and like we say, for you to be part of it at such an early stage is only good for you, mate.
It's very true.
With regards to the fight week, obviously these fight weeks, they're really busy. Like you had at the public workouts last time, you had a professional fight. So what does your week look like building up to this biggest fight card? What does your week look like? What do you do in the week building up to it?
Obviously, I'll just be focusing on preparing physically, mentally, just getting my last minute preparations right, sorting everything out. Just take one day at a time and just make sure I get everything complete. I don't want to have any last minute doubts or anything I need to sort out on the day or the day before. Everything just about, for me right now, just preparing for the big day, and that's all my focus is. Everything else I'll take with a pinch of salt, really.
Are you involved in any of the public workouts or the press conferences up to there, or can you have your full focus on the fight?
I think I have my full focus on the fight. I'll probably be at the press conference. I might be at the public workout. I don't think I'm doing a public workout, but I'll probably be at the presses, and I'll obviously be at the weigh-in. And so for me, it's just really, I'm just concentrating on my weight's always on weight all year round anyway. So I've been on weight for weeks anyway, but concentrating on my weight on the Friday and then fighting on the Saturday. That's my two main focuses right now.
I mean, what's it like taking part in the weigh-ins? I mean, me and Sam attend them regularly. Obviously, the last one we went to was the Anthony Joshua Dominic Brazil one, and the turnout from the public is insane. I mean, what is it like for the fighter to stand there, get on the scales in front of all the fans, do the workouts in front of the fans, things like, what is that like from your point of view, from a fighter's point of view?
I think every fighter, all they think about is right now is no fighter wants to look silly, so he don't want to get on the scales and be overweight when the whole public's watching. So it's all about just making sure them scales have got the right numbers on the day when you stand on them. And that's what they're really thinking about at the time, just making sure, because everyone just wants to qualify to make sure they're fighting for Saturday night. That's all it's about. So I think when they go off to do public workouts with the fighters, they don't want to make any silly mistakes or anything. They just want to look good, look sharp, feel confident, feel good. And weigh in, they just want to make sure they make their weight, stand on the scales, everything's okay. They get the green light, and get ready for the next day. Right. And I think that's all it's about in the fighter's mind.
Professional, isn't it? Bit professionalism. That's what it's about. You don't these people that come in 3-4 pounds overweight and it's not.
Yeah, that's just unprofessional. You get a lot of time to prepare for this, and so for you to be coming to make them silly mistakes, it looks unprofessional. So I think for all us fighters, we just want to make sure that we look professional and we're on point on the day, and that's about it.
Yeah. So you got, as we touched on, New York Call. I think that's a Thursday night, isn't it? It's late September.
Yeah.
It's 29th, it is.
29th, yeah. It's a good show. I've seen that. There's some good fighters on that. Obviously, you're back on that show.
Yeah.
Is that so? We've touched. Is that what's 12 months then? You said you want a Southern Area title, like going up to maybe British title within a year or so. You reckon?
Well, I'm not sure how quick from my Southern Area to the British that I want to go up, but as I say, we're just going to take one stage at a time. So first, we're going to concentrate on the domestic title. Once we win that, we sit down at the back of the drawing board and then we work out what route we want to take to get to the British title. All we know is the goals. We don't know how long it's going to take to get for the next stages after that. Our first focus, we know within this year we want a title, and then we'll sit back at the table and look at how long it's going to take us to get the next one.
It's good. No cutting corners now.
No. You cut corners, you only go around in circles, they say.
I like that. So, I never heard that one. I like that.
Yeah.
As you look through your division, so your super middleweight is where you feel most comfortable, yeah?
Yeah.
Now,
100%.
obviously, James DeGale, world champion. George Groves knocking on the door and has been for years, it seems. Are they guys you hope to emulate in those 80,000 people at Wembley? George Groves, James DeGale winning his world title. Can you comprehend that? The thought of winning your world title.
To be fair, I do want a world. Of course, I want a world title, and I want to get to some stages. My vision, I believe that I can go beyond the people in my division I've seen so far. The people at the top of my game right now, I could go beyond that. I believe. It's like Andre Ward. He's a super middleweight that I used to watch, and I have a lot of respect for. I think that he doesn't get enough credit for how good he is. When you look at him against the other super middleweight fighters, no matter what style you give him, he can make adaptations and he can adjust. And I feel like he's a dedicated athlete to the sport. The other super middleweights, they're not at a stage where I think it's a dream to get to. I believe it's very possible to get to their stages, and I believe that if I stay dedicated and stay focused, I'll go beyond of what they have achieved.
Ambition, man. I like that ambition a lot, and it's good to hear. It's good to hear. There's no point. You don't want to be the second James. You want to be the first Craig Richards. So I like that.
Exactly, because it's more than once you win a world title, then becoming a bigger pay-per-view star and unifying your division and things like that. There's a lot to achieve in the sport of boxing, but obviously it's not easy. It's going to be hard work, but that's what we're in the game for, really.
So you mentioned obviously the first name you put out, James DeGale, is obviously IBF champion. You mentioned George Groves. You mentioned already the 3 world title fights on the Golovkin Brook card. All British fighters involved. I mean, British boxing is on its up. It's massive at the minute. I mean, how good is it to be a part of that? Pretty much at its high.
It's a privilege, and it's a privilege to be part of British boxing right now. Especially the stage I've come in to my career now. A year in, it was about a year or so ago, but I think British boxing really started taking over. Before, it was all about boxing in the States. The States had boxing for many years, all the big fighters, all the big stages, going from the Madison Square Gardens to the MGM Grand. Now, we're having a lot of UK world champions. We've got people flying in to come fight at the O2 Arena. We've got Wembley Stadium. We've got the Manchester Arena. We've brought boxing to life. I feel that the UK is dominating it right now. We've got great venues. We've got great fighters. We've got a lot of world titles. So right now, the UK, we've got great prospects as well. And I believe that we're going to have a lot of prospects going to be champions in the future and world champions. So I believe that we can potentially take over the whole of the boxing game. Although we're a small population, I think that we're doing so well and we're dominating boxing right now. That's what I believe.
I agree. It's crazy that you know, in the last sort of 4 or 5 years, the emergence of British, not emergence because it's always been, but like you say, all the big fights are here now. Very rarely are the big fights taking place elsewhere. Obviously, Klitschko sort of dominated Germany for years, and then Tyson Fury went there and took the titles off him. So even those, the monopoly on the heavyweight titles are coming to England as well. So it's a good thing, and I can't imagine the buzz around it in, you know, your gyms and on these shows, being a fighter and being part of them. It must be amazing.
Yeah, because it gives the prospects and the up and coming or domestic level fighters or even European fighters in this country more chances of box at bigger stages, because bringing the world title fighters here, when they're defending their world titles in their home shows, that's when great fighters are getting on the undercards and they're getting more exposure. And the more that happens, the more titles we have, is the more exposure of the UK fighters are getting, which means you're building up more profiles for them, which means the future's better for them. It means they're becoming stars, they're becoming pay-per-view stars because they're getting more attention. So more people know them around the world. So when they get to title level, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
It's only going to get better. We're just branching off each other and rubbing off each other and just keeping the belts all over here, really.
I mean, you mentioned there we've got so much potential over here. I mean, you know, just to pull a few names off the top of my head, you know, you've got Conor Benn, you've got Ted Cheeseman. You know, these are just matchroom boys. These are ones who are also fighting on these big cards. I mean, you mentioned potential. I mean, who for you? Who have you sparred or trained alongside? Who's got massive potential in your eyes?
A lot of the fighters, as you mentioned, the fighters in the matchroom, Jim O'Hara, Davis. The list is endless, really. We got so many fighters around us, prospects that you see on matchroom shows, etc., or even other shows that they're coming in the game, they're dominating, and they're going to be champions too. I've seen the list is endless. You've got boys in my gym that they've got great potential and talent, and they're going to be champions. So it's hard to even name. Like, I'll be here all day listing so many fighters.
What about the other side of the coin? What about guys that you feel that you could beat, and you know you believe that you'd have the beating of them, and they've got a bit of a name? Any guys off the top of your head?
There is a lot of fighters that I'll secretly think in my head sometimes and watch, and I see them with a buzz, and I do laugh in my head because I do believe in the future, if we get in the ring, I believe that I won't go down that road right now, but because I've got one step at a time. I've got to do my apprenticeship and work my way up, and you know they've done what they needed to do, so all credit to them. But in the future, you know, I believe there'll be a lot of fighters that I think I'll beat that people wouldn't have expected me to beat. Not even they wouldn't expect me to beat, but they never saw it coming, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, James, you got anything else you wanted to add on the subject, mate?
Yeah, well, not on that subject. Something just comes through, though. I just wanted to mention about how your nickname came about, Spider. I read a funny story earlier about it.
Yeah.
I believe it was, I don't know if it was at the ABA or something like that. You didn't have a nickname, or your first preference, something like that. And I think it was Peter gave you the name Spider. And
yeah.
Your mum weren't too pleased, was she?
No, she wasn't. So we were sparring, and he was like, "Oh, you remind me of a spider." They kept cracking a joke. He's like, "What's your nickname? Have you got a nickname before?" And I was just like, "Well, I had a few, but I thought, no." I was like, "No, I don't have any nicknames." He said, "I'm going to call you the Spider." So, and then I was just like, Spider. And then like people was like, "Yeah, that would make sense, the Spider." And then when I started sparring and everything, people was like, "Oh, I can see why they call you the Spider." It's like, it don't feel like you got two hands. Like your punches come from everywhere. It's like you're hitting me from everywhere. Yeah, definitely Spider's the right name for you. It feels like I'm getting hit by about 8 people. So people was like, "Yeah, that's exactly why I called him the Spider." So then that's when it comes from, and we just kind of just pressed on it because it's like every single person I got in the ring with after that was like, "Yeah, that name definitely suits you." The way the shots were just coming from everywhere. So yeah, we stuck to that. But my mum, she was just like, when we signed the contracts and etc., we put it on as Spider Richards. Obviously, my mum saw it. She was just like, she's like, "Why Spider Richards? Can't you be Craig?" And I went back to Peter. I was like, "Peter, my mum said you don't want Spider, you want Craig." And he's like, "No, your name's Spider Richards." And I was like, "All right." And I said, she said, "Look, let's compromise then. We'll be Craig Spider Richards." And he was like, "All right then, let's go on it. Craig Spider Richards." And then so we met in the middle, and that's how we come up with it in the end.
It adds that little bit of intimidation factor as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a good
Well, listen,
He always
Anderson
finds nicknames
Silva,
for everyone.
it didn't do Anderson Silva any bad, did it? You know, in the UFC, it's a nickname.
Yeah.
That, you know,
I only realised about 8 months in, I'm like, oh, that guy in the UFC calls himself Spider, don't he?
you're in good company, mate. He's one of the best. I think you'll be all right.
Oh, good. I believe in energy. So as long as it works for him, it should work for me.
Yeah, mate, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm looking forward to seeing you fight again. I'll be hopefully seeing you again in York Hall as well, and I'll be at the weigh-ins. Might catch up with you there.
Yeah. Okay then.
It's been a pleasure having you
for
on,
having
mate.
me today.
Of course.
I appreciate it, and I'll speak to you guys soon.
Definitely take care. It's been the Fight Talk podcast.